And now, a special edition of the Southern Sports Roundup with your host, Han Vance.
Here we are in Atlanta, Georgia, the world capital of college football. Han Vance with you, recording live from Armada FM studios on the west side of Atlanta, Georgia. It's bowl season, one of my favorite times of the year. I'm here to talk about all the bowls. We're going to run them all down. It's my third annual bowl show. This is also an edition of Southern Sports Roundup, an all-South, all-sports show. But we're going to stick to college football because there's so much to talk about. It's the first year of the college football playoff. It's not a playoffs. There's not multiple rounds, but there is going to be two bowls that are play-in games for a national championship game. Let's talk a little bit about what has shifted as far as the paradigm of college football and the bowls. In the BCS era, there were 4 major bowls. Joining the party of those bowls is Atlanta and Dallas, my two hometowns. I'm from Fort Worth area, and I've lived in Atlanta forever. The Cotton Bowl and the Peach Bowl are now one of those New Year's Six bowls with the Fiesta, the Rose, the Orange, the Sugar. Each of those bowls in a rotation is going to host a national championship. Whichever site hosts the national championship also gets to double dip and gets, so there will be a Cotton Bowl this year and the national championship played in the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, Jerry World, Arlington, Texas, in the Metroplex, Dallas-Fort Worth area. Okay? That's that. The Peach Bowl has reached what they've tried to reach. They were a lesser bowl here in Atlanta. The Belk Bowl in Charlotte, which is where Georgia is going to face Louisville, has replaced the Peach Bowl as that SEC, ACC, kind of middling, but SEC, ACC bowl that people are going to want to see. The Peach Bowl was always a classic game. It's usually ranked teams. It's usually pretty good teams. That's going to be the Belk Bowl. The Peach Bowl is not an SEC, ACC game anymore. This year you get TCU. My parents are TCU, Texas Christian University Horned Frogs. Baylor and TCU were co-Big 12 champs. They did not make the playoff. That's why we need to go to more teams. I was one of the first people to say this is not a completely legitimate playoffs. That's why they call it a college football playoff. Baylor's out. TCU's out. They did get New Year's Six bowls. Georgia Tech got a New Year's Six bowl. Mississippi State got a New Year's Six bowl. They're not playing for national championships. I don't see Tech ever playing for national championship. Let me go on the record and saying that. The Magnolia State schools, Ole Miss and Miss State, had great years. Those schools are not going to be playing for national championships anytime in the near future, maybe never. Bama, Ohio State, the defending national champion Florida State, who's on a 29-game win streak. And those Oregon Quack Quack Ducks coming on the West Coast. That's your 4 teams. We've got a lot of bad bowls. We've got a lot of good bowls. It's going to be exciting. Let's jump right into Merry Christmas time and get on December 27th. I don't want to wait to talk about these bigger bowls. I want to talk about some of them right away. Cincy and Virginia Tech in Annapolis, Maryland, the Military Bowl, 1 p.m. on ESPN. Unless the bowl is televised by someone other than ESPN, assume it's on ESPN. ESPN gets the vast majority of these bowls. If this is a bowl not on ESPN, I'm going to let you know what network it's on. Otherwise, it's on ESPN. Okay, Military Bowl. Va-Tech, a great bowl program, a great program, terrible year. They had one notable win, really, which is they beat Ohio State very early in the season. Ohio State's only loss. Almost kept Ohio State from the playoff, but Ohio State eked in with a 59-0 win over Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship. Big 12 was left out because they didn't have a championship game. There was co-champs. They couldn't split hairs between TCU and Baylor. TCU's a better team than Ohio State, probably. Baylor's a better team than Ohio State, probably. But they didn't win a conference championship and were not outright conference champions. Therefore, Ohio State gets in. Virginia Tech took it to Ohio State and then had a terrible year. It was not Beamer ball. Cincy's a much better program. Check out this with Cincy. They've got Tuberville. Tuberville, an SEC vet, was a big winner, really, at Ole Miss and parlayed that into a job at Auburn. Had some real success at Auburn. Had an undefeated team that didn't get to play for national champion. and really had some good years there before they ran him out of town like they always do at Auburn. So I think Tuberville is sneaking around the woodshed and will be in the SEC in 2 years. Look for him to come back. He's at Cincy. They're going to get the win. Next up, 2-9-3 teams in El Paso, the Sun Bowl. They call it the Sun Bowl. It's cold as crap in West Texas this time of year. It's windy. It's cold. You've got Duke and Arizona State. That would favor Duke, but Duke has beaten no one this year. Arizona State is a number 15 ranked team. I'm going with Sparky, the Sun Devils. Independence Bowl, South Carolina, Miami. Carolina fell flat on their faces this year. They had 3 11-win seasons consecutive, by far a school record for a program that is usually 500. Back to 500, Gamecocks. Peaked by beating Georgia early in the year when Georgia had a chance to hammer it and didn't after having a really bad first half. Didn't give Gurley the ball. Didn't win the game. Carolina looked to be in the driver's seat in the East and went and had an abysmal year. They're 6-6, but they're playing Miami. The U is not what they used to be. I'm going to go with South Carolina and Shreveport. That's an ABC game. The Arizona State-Duke game is a CBS game. Pretty much wall-to-wall ESPN otherwise, guys. Okay, Penn State and BC. Penn State is a program which I feel should have gotten the permanent death penalty because of what went on there. I will never cheer for Nittany Lions. I really wish they had just torn down the stadium. They didn't. They let them back in. They finally made it back into a bowl. They're coached by James Franklin, who did a great job at Vanderbilt. Really good coach, really good players coach, but a tough guy, disciplinarian, and gets the kids to play hard. Really rah-rahs it up with them. I think he's going to have them ready, but I'm going to pick Boston College to win in Boogie Down Bronx, New York. They're playing in the Yankees Stadium. Isn't that something? Game in the Bronx. I think that's going to favor BC, who does well in those really cold environs. They don't do well on the road. Penn State just isn't there yet, so I'm going to pick BC. Holiday Bowl, usually a good bowl in San Diego. I got USC taking out Nebraska. USC's a ranked team. Nebraska is Bo Pelini-less. He's gotten fired. My Georgia Bulldogs played Nebraska in the past 2 bowls. Went 1-1 against them. My mom's a Nebraskan. I've got that strong Nebraska blood mixing in with my Texas blood. They're salt-of-the-earth people. They got some good kids. They got Amir Abdullah. He's a great running back. But when you're firing your coach on the precipice of a bowl game, that's not the way to have things going momentum-wise. So I'm picking the 8-4 USC Fallen Dynasty. These are great programs when you look at these programs. Historic programs. USC and Nebraska, 2 of the greatest of all time. Mid-90s, Nebraska won me a lot of money when I was a semi-professional gambler, so I do have a soft spot for them. Again, my mom's from there. I'm taking USC. My grandpa went to Texas A&M. They're playing Westfa. This is an interesting matchup in Memphis, Tennessee on December 29th. 28th, no game. It's the Liberty Bowl. Georgia was in this a few years ago in Memphis. It was cold. It was Murray's freshman year. We got beat by UCF as UCF first emerged under George O'Leary. A&M is not a very good team. They're not very solid. West Virginia, likewise. Middle of the season, these teams were national title contenders. It just shows you jump on this bandwagon when you're fans of a program that's like 6-0. They might be 6-6. They might be 7-5. Don't get too excited if you have a good half year. A good half year is nothing. It's nothing. So these teams ended up having nothing seasons. They weren't good, and they end up in Memphis. And I'm taking A&M primarily just because my grandpa went to school there, and I'm from Texas, Giga-Maggies. It is an SEC game. A&M was in the Big 12, and now West Virginia's in the Big 12. They're a misfit, geographical misfit in the Big 12. They tried to get in the SEC. We didn't take them. They ended up in the Big 12. Big 12 only has 10 teams, by the way. Big 10 has 14 teams. If you think college football is weird, that proves it. Clemson and OU, my cousin Paige, big OU alum, totally disheartened, especially, actually all year. Sorry, Paige, but especially with the way they collapsed and had bad coaching decisions in the Okie State Bedlam series. They lost to Oklahoma State, a bad Oklahoma State team, letting Oklahoma State get in the bowl. Both of these teams have injury issues. Clemson's great quarterback, the young freshman Deshaun Watson is not going to be able to play. He's gone ahead and had the surgery that he's been we knew he was going to get it at some point. Cole Stout is going to have to start. Clemson has, I think, the top or right near the top defense in the country all year they've had it. They're number 17 in the country. I'm taking OU, though. OU's 8-4. Whenever you think OU's not going to do something, they do. When they're highly regarded, they usually don't. So the great running back, Pirine, who set the record 400-something yards in a game, may not be able to go, and that could really hurt them. But both teams are a little banged up. Both teams are a little disappointed. They're playing in my former hometown of Orlando. Orlando gets 2 bowls. This is the Russell Athletic Bowl. This is not the Citrus Bowl. So I'm going to take OU just based on the fact that I think that they're going to be a strong enough program to overcome who is really Clemson's secondary quarterback. December 29th, Texas, Arkansas. This is interesting. Houston Bowl in Texas. I'm sorry, the Texas Bowl in Houston, December 29th. I'm really disappointed that Arkansas could not beat Missouri and put my Georgia Bulldogs in the SEC championship. I like the way we matched up with Alabama. I really do. We had the number 1 pass defense in the SEC. Arkansas was on a long stretch of SEC defeats. Finally gets a home win and shuts out LSU and Ole Miss in back-to-back weeks. Really looks like they're going to be able to overpower Missouri, and Missouri just... Arkansas hasn't won on the road. They haven't really won away from home. Both of these programs are rebounding, former strong programs from the Southwest Conference. I was born in Austin, Texas, baby. I'm picking the Longhorns. They're both 6-6, bad teams. So that gets us up to December 30th when it really heats up. December 30th is when it really heats up. We're going to talk about those when we come back. Let's take a little break. That gets us started. You see where we're going. We're heading towards a national champion. And we're heading towards some really big matchups.
Beat on the brat with a baseball bat. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh. Beat on the brat.
Peekaboo, peekaboo, smile.
Smile, buddy.
Come on, smile. Oh, honey, he's still not smiling.
Maybe he's not a smiler.
Yeah, maybe he's just not a happy baby.
Maybe he's just being a boy. You know how boys are.
Or maybe he's teething. Oh, poor baby. I think his gums hurt.
Maybe he's just tired.
Or maybe his tummy hurts. He didn't eat that much.
Maybe he's not ticklish.
You think maybe he's scared of the dog?
Maybe he'll outgrow it. Maybe it's a phase. Maybe he just doesn't like smiling.
Maybe he has autism, and we can definitely do something to help.
Maybe is all you need to find out more about autism. No big, joyful smiles by 6 months is one early sign. Learn the others at autismspeaks.org/signs or see a doctor today for an autism screening. The sooner it's diagnosed, the better. And it can make a lifetime of difference. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
It's 6:42 p.m. Time for Steve Plotto and his son Dylan to do the dishes. They talk about everything from the yuckiness of girls to the awesomeness of his soccer team. Sometimes they don't talk at all. Then... the dreaded splash fight. It's Dad o'clock, and it's the best time of the day. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council. How to be a great dad in 15 seconds. Bike ride, go fish, walk in the park, phone call, milkshake, play catch, picnic, fly a kite, tell jokes, laugh, talk, read a story, tell a story, bumper car, swing set, bowling, pillow fight, cut loose, stay tight. Whew. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
When I grow up, I want to be a glass countertop in a new home.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's best birthday present.
When I grow up, I want to be a football stadium.
When I grow up, I want to be a warm fleece on a cold day.
When I grow up, I want to be a fancy backsplash.
I want to be a bike that races around the country.
When I grow up,
I want to be a bench on a forest trail. I want to be a rocking chair on a sunny porch.
I want to be a skyscraper.
I want to be
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. A public service advertisement brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Southern Sports Roundup Special Edition Bowl Show. Welcome back to Atlanta, Georgia. It's bowl season, y'all. That means holidays. D-A-Z-E, holidays. You're spending all that money. You're drinking all that wine. Your stomach hurts. You just want to sit on the couch and watch football. It's so messed up. And then you finally get to that moment, that New Year's moment, when it all just kind of melts away. Christmas just melts away, and it's really time to focus on football. You're always optimistic about that new year. I hope you are. This could be your year, kids. Georgia had a disappointing year this year. Again, 2 years ago, we were one play away from competing for a national championship, and we would have faced Notre Dame. We would have beaten Notre Dame. Bama went and just killed Notre Dame. Then the next year, Auburn is like a play away from a national championship, loses to Florida State. Florida State's on a 29-game win streak. I don't like to pick against teams that have won 29 in a row, and I don't like to pick against Alabama. So I'm really torn on who I'm going to pick for this championship. But I do see an upset in Florida State taking out Oregon, probably, just because Florida State is so clutch. They find a way to win in the fourth quarter. It's going to be back-to-back Heismans going against each other. You've got Jameis Winston, the bad guy, versus Mariota, this year's Heisman, the good guy, the Hawaiian nice guy, the West Coast pretty uniform nice guy. Florida State was a respectable program somewhat under Bobby Bowden, Free Shoes University, and they had some Peter Warwick and some shenaniganery, but they generally were regarded as a somewhat respectable program. They owned the ACC. They won it every year. Back then, Miami was in the Big East, and that was the team that they would lose to if they lost a game. All those wide rights, they would lose to Miami. They became Miami. Florida State is the villains of America right now. Jameis Winston, the guy, Jesus Martinez or whatever his name is, stealing people's scooters and getting away with it. Jameis had a rape charge and got away with it. I don't know what happened, but I mean, every week it's something. The New York Times had a real scathing report on what was going on there, and the Tallahassee Police Department is straight up sponsoring this bad behavior because it brings money for Tallahassee. If the guy is a member of the FSU football program, he's a non-suspect. He gets off. That said, I'll go ahead and tell you right now, I'm picking Florida State to beat Oregon. I'm picking Bama to beat Ohio State. Bad. And I don't want to pick two upsets in a row, and I don't want to pick against Florida State. I'm picking Bama to win, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if Florida State repeated as national champs. It's really hard to win more than 30 games in a row. It's just really hard. And if you get Saban as the coach on the other side when you're going for that 31st win in a row, statistically, the streak may be over. Florida State hasn't been that strong up until the fourth quarter when they have to do it, and they always win. They're cardiac kids. They get it done. But Bama's really found something with this scripted plays. Lane Kiffin, he comes out and scripts the first 16 plays. They're throwing the ball a lot, and they're throwing it to Amari Cooper. He's one of the best receivers I've ever seen. He had a little bit of a dip last year. 2 years ago, he was phenomenal. This year, he's doing what A.J. Green could have done his junior year at Georgia had he not been suspended. He really, really, really carried the Alabama program. I didn't think Saban could let go of the reins and let him throw that much, but he did. He finally did. He had to because the middle of the year, Alabama was not beating anybody. They'd beaten some really bad teams. They lost to Ole Miss. They miraculously, barely survived Arkansas because Arkansas hadn't found a way to win yet. And that was back-to-back games, and that was the only two teams they'd played that were even decent. So when it started working to throw the ball, Saban just went with it. He had to. He didn't have another choice. And it really showed adaptability on his part. I'm not the biggest Saban fan in the world, but he is a great coach, and that really showed it because when you can change completely what you're doing and going from being a we're going to run it, we're going to hammer it, Eddie Lacy type team to we're going to throw it and be a finesse team and win. It's just impressive. Their schedule was really set up for them, though. They didn't have any tough road games this year except for at Ole Miss, and they lost that game. So look at that. You know, they won at home. They've won at home a lot over the years, and they've won a lot. And here they are. They're competing for a national championship. Auburn blew the SEC streak last year by choking it up against Florida State. They had the worst pass defense in the SEC, and Jameis took it to them late. Could Jameis take it to Oregon late? And then could Jameis take it to Bama late? I think it could happen, but it's just not in my trend better background to pick two upsets and pick Florida State for a champion when they're favored to lose by 8.5, 9 points in this game. So I'm going to pick Bama. That's your playoff games. January 12th is going to be that national championship game at Dallas Cowboys Stadium. That's going to be really exciting. They've gone to what's called the New Year's Six now. There's 6 big bowls, as I mentioned. The Peach Bowl, I'm going to be attending that game on Press Pass. I'm excited about it. It's 12:30. I've been to 5 Peach Bowls previous. 3 times I've seen Georgia play. We won twice. I've also seen Miami play Florida and beat them when Devin Hester went wild. I've seen LSU just murder Miami after Georgia had beaten LSU for the SEC championship with DJ Shockley. We went out and dropped our bowl. But anyway, so I used to go a lot when it wasn't nighttime New Year's Eve. If it's nighttime New Year's Eve, it's got to be your team. What, are you going to go for New Year's just to watch a game of teams you don't care about? Doesn't make sense. Now it's back to 12:30 kickoff on New Year's Eve. I don't have plans. My plan's to go watch TCU Horned Frogs. I've always wanted to see them live. It's the first college football team I ever saw live. Saw them play in Fort Worth when I was a little kid. Lived there till I was about 6 before I moved southeast. Playing Ole Miss Rebels. Land Shark defense and a great defense this year, but they can't handle Trevon Boykin. No one can. If anyone can, it's Ole Miss. Ole Miss had the best defense in the SEC. Halfway through the year, they had scored more points than they had allowed. The defense had actually run back and scored more touchdowns than they had given up. So they can keep the score somewhat low, but TCU is known for defense historically with Gary Patterson. There's no coach in the country better than Gary Patterson. He's done the most with the least. He's taken TCU from a middling private school to this would be the 3rd really major bowl. They won the Rose Bowl and had an undefeated season. They played in the Fiesta Bowl. They made it into the Big 12. He's done a remarkable job. They had a little hiccup when they got to the Big 12 because what had happened was they had Tank Gardner and some other really good players all kind of leaving school right as they upped the competition. They didn't know how to play in the Big 12. This is the success I predicted for them, and this is what's happened. They're really great. So I'm going to take them over Ole Miss. Usually I pick all the SEC teams. SEC put a record 12 teams in bowls. That means it's a little diluted. When you get quite that many teams in, it's a little diluted when 12 out of 14 go. And some of these matchups are not as favorable for the SEC as in past years. Usually we'll go something like 8-2 in bowls. We're always going to have a plus 500 record as far as the greatest conference in the history of sport. Southeastern Conference is amazing. But I'm going to take TCU there. Let's back up a day. Let's back up a day to December 30th, LSU and Notre Dame. LSU has a lot of really good freshmen, including Leonard Fournette, the great running back. They've had inconsistent quarterback play. Notre Dame was a national title contender and is 500-ish. Just fell on their faces. So I'm taking 8-4 LSU in Nashville, Tennessee, baby. Music City. I've been to that bowl as well. Saw Georgia lose in Mark Richt's first year to Boston College. Taking LSU over Notre Dame. I'm going to skip Georgia, Louisville, hold back on that for a second. In San Francisco, we've got Stanford playing Maryland. The Farm. I love what they do on the Farm. They had a kind of a down year at Stanford. They were supposed to do some big things, and they've really been good the past few years. But this is a game they're going to win. It's 18 miles from their campus. 7-5 Stanford's going to take out Maryland. Okay. We talked about that one big game as far as the Peach Bowl. That two big game is the Fiesta Bowl. Arizona's happy to be there. They're number 10 in the country. They're playing Boise State. There's a group of 5 is what they call it. I know there's all this new terminology this year. It's a little wonky. But, hey, I'm a college football wonk, so who better to tell you about it? Boise State is in that group of 5, which is the next tier of conferences that are not the power conferences. There's the Big 5 conferences, and there's those next 5 conferences. The top team in the group of 5 will get an automatic New Year's Bowl, one of the New Year's 6, as they call it. So Boise State, it looked like it was going to be Marshall all year, and it's often been Boise State. It's been Boise State or TCU. But this year it's Boise State. Boise State's 11-2. Scooby Wright, the third, out at Zona as Defensive Player of the Year. He's amazing. I don't like how they look, though. I don't like how they looked against Oregon. And I really think Boise State is going to be motivated and has had good Fiesta Bowls in the past. They took out TCU there. They took out Oklahoma there. I'm going to take 11-2 Boise State there. Now we've got the Orange Bowl. Georgia Tech, kudos to Tech for beating my Dogs. It was a miracle win. They had a 50-something-yard field goal. We didn't coach that well late in that game. They're playing Mississippi State, who was highly regarded as number 1 a lot of the year. Mississippi State didn't beat anybody this year, y'all. They really did not have a schedule that, they played Bama close, but they lost. Ole Miss beat them. I'm going to go ahead and take Tech. Picking against the SEC again. Tech has been like 1-5 in their past 6 bowls. People have time to prepare. They do well against them. But I'm going to go ahead and take Tech there. And let's hold back on those bigger bowls that are coming up. And then let's tuck some of these garbage bowls like on a speed round as soon as I get back from break. Let's speed round kill some of these garbage bowls. Bowl Show, Southern Sports Roundup.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
So, Justin, I was playing that video game Forest Brigade, and it was pretty cool. I was running down this, digital path, and I met this digital frog. He was all like... And then I went playing in this virtual stream where this water, it looked almost real. It was this whole electronic forest world. So what did you do?
Well, my parents took me to the forest, the real forest, where I was running down this... Well, it was an actual path. Then I saw this real-life frog. It was all like... ribbit, and I saw an owl too. Then I played in this amazing stream with water around my ankles, like wet water. Then me and my sister and my parents sat around a campfire and told cool stories all night long.
Oh, that's pretty cool too.
This weekend, unplug. Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Remember when your neighbor found us naked in the car, and the time some outdoor action got us kicked out of the park? Getting frisky in the dark, I gave your eye a poke. I think the dog is also in the bed. Do I smell smoke? You and me, we never give up, you and me. We never, ever, ever give up. Getting hot and heavy with the whipped cream that we bought, undressing in the kitchen and then getting caught. So many things can go wrong, but we still can get it right. You and me, we're not gonna give up tonight.
You didn't give up on sex. Don't give up on birth control either. There are more methods than you think. Visit bedsider.org to compare all the choices and put the bogus myths to bed at bedsider.org.
Boy, we got options tonight.
Brought to you by Bedsider and the Ad Council. bedsider.org.
Microphone check, 1, 2, what is this? Welcome back to the Bowl Show, y'all. Welcome back to Atlanta, Georgia, the world capital of college football. So you know, we're excited about the Bowls. You know it. Because you got Clemson fans, you got Florida fans, you got South Carolina fans, you got Auburn fans, all in one megalopolis of a big old city called Atlanta, GA. They love the Bowls around here. They love it. We got 7 teams from Texas making bowls, 4 from Florida, 5 from California, 4 from North Carolina, 3 from Louisiana, 2 from Georgia. Georgia Southern, I want to talk about them for a second. Georgia Southern has just moved up in classification and was not eligible for a bowl. They went out and won their conference. They won their conference and cannot play in a bowl because that was part of the rules. They did a special appeal. It was denied. That's pretty impressive. So these little teams that they whooped up on and beat, like Louisiana Lafayette in their conference, get a bowl and they don't. Kudos to Georgia Southern. I got a boo on Georgia State. Well, you can play that applause. But my producer's a Georgia State guy. They're just, you got to win some games. Georgia Southern is impressive. They've been impressive, and they had a history, and then they moved up. Georgia State said, hey, we got a dome. We're in the big city. Let's get a program. And they jumped right into that middling classification, and they are not ready. Really, really good job, Georgia Southern. They had Tech on the ropes, almost beat them. They would have been the state champions because Tech beat Georgia if everything else had played out the same. So they would have been conference champions and state champions and not been allowed to play in a bowl, while 2 ranked teams from the state who they beat played in the bowl, and unranked teams from their conference got bowls. Is it a fair world? I don't think so. All right. Florida's getting 8 bowls as far as played in. 7 of them are played in my home state of Texas, 4 of them in California. So you're looking for warm locales. You're looking for somewhere to go and hang out. Georgia's been in Florida bowls quite often, and I really do not like it when Georgia plays in an early New Year's Day game because I'm locked in on my dogs. I'm a Georgia football media person. I love Georgia. I'm an alumni. I can't flip. All those games are on at once, and they're not really huge bowl games. You know, Outback Bowl. They're not big. They're medium-sized bowls. I'd rather be flipping then. I'd rather be flipping around. And so I'm liking where Georgia ended up. As a regional manager, I used to work in Uptown Charlotte. It's a really nice Gothic stadium right in they call it Uptown, but it's the downtown area of Charlotte. We're going up against our former defensive coordinator, who's a real a-hole, Todd Grantham. I was really glad to see him leave Athens. I was field level for the G-Day game, the very first time we ever got to see Grantham. Sitting there with a bunch of old ladies, kids, etc. He's straight up cussing up and down, screaming profanities, some of the worst profanities, breaking clipboards in half, trying to get our defensive guys to really light up. And they did. They ended up having a good year. Then the next year we had lots of talent on defense, and they weren't well prepared. Then the next year it was worse. So I'm no big Grantham fan. He's always scheming and always trying to get calls in so late. It's been a major, major, major improvement that we have Jeremy Pruitt. He's been a big improvement, a defensive coordinator at Georgia. He won 3 national championships in a row. Is going to fall short this year. He won one at Florida State and took a lateral move to come to Georgia. So the speculation in the program is that he is a head coach in waiting at the University of Georgia. Why would he leave Florida State after winning a national championship in 1 year he was there, after winning 2 national championships at Bama, take a lateral move to come to Georgia? because he likes Coach Richt. No, it's because he's going to be Coach Richt. A lot of people are speculating, and you heard it here first, kids. A lot of insiders in the program are speculating Jeremy Pruitt will be the eventual head coach at the University of Georgia. Mike Bobo looks like he's moving on. He's going off to Colorado State. Everyone's bashed Bobo for years and years and years. 3 years consecutive, Georgia broke the school mark for scoring the past 3 years with different running backs, different quarterbacks. It's good play calling and well-prepared kids. Sure, I'm tired of seeing the shotgun draw run plays when they get stopped. I'm tired of seeing it, but when you're scoring 40 points a game year in and year out with different quarterbacks, different running backs, it's impressive, and that's why he's about to get a shot and maybe going to Colorado State. It's a couple years from now, there might be no Rick, no Bobo. All these guys are gone, all new faces in Athens. We have the most consecutive bowls in the SEC now. We've been to 18 straight bowls. We have the best winning percentage. Rick has the best winning percentage of any coach in the SEC in bowls. Saban's 500. These bowls are not easy to win. No other coach in the SEC is more than 2 games over 500, and that's Les Miles in bowls. And that's with Rick and Georgia having kind of wet the bed recently in bowls. We lost to Nebraska. We beat Nebraska. We lost to Michigan State. We lost to UCF. That's 1 in 3. Prior to that Michigan State, Georgia had never lost to the Big Ten in the history of our school. Now we've lost 2 of 3 to them. So we really stepped back in that stat once I pointed it out to a Big Ten guy. It's not a Big Ten matchup this year. We didn't want another Big Ten Florida matchup. We didn't want to play Nebraska again for sure. We got December 30th, 6:30. I like this time slot. I like Charlotte. It's a short drive, 3 hours. Can hit to Charlotte, get back, be home time for the Peach Bowl. We really need to win this game. We're up against Bobby Petrino, the former Falcons coach, another bad guy. You got evil guys here, as evil as coaches can get. Petrino's the guy, remember, he left the Falcons in the lurch, went to Arkansas, was having sex with a undergrad, wrecked his motorcycle with her on it, and that's how he got busted and got fired. But he's such a good coach and such a good play caller that he gets another job. It really warms the heart of us flawed individualists who have, like my producer and myself, perhaps made mistakes in the past. We can come back from this and still be the head coach of something. Bobby P., you're going down, baby. Mark Richt's going to take you out. I think they're really wanting to run it up on Grantham. Louisville has one of the top wideouts and the top cornerback in the country. So they have some weapons. They have some really, really highly regarded pro guys. The scouts will be out, and they'll be looking around. The Georgia guys are coming back next year, the underclassmen. They've already said it. Gurley, he wasn't hurt as bad as some breaks can be, some ACL injuries can be, some MCL injuries can be. So he's still going to get drafted relatively high. I was concerned that he was going to get, undrafted or go in like the 5th round, based partially on the fact that Marcus Lattimore had a similar situation at Carolina and never played again. So if there's degrees of tears, there's degrees of breaks, there's degrees of injuries, and if his injury, he can bounce back, he should go pretty high. I watched some highlights of the beginning of the season, what Gurley had done. It hurt my heart because he was the best player in the country. We had the best player in the country again, and he didn't play a whole season. Last year we had Todd Gurley. He was hurt. He didn't play a whole season. We had A.J. Green a few years before that. He was the best player in the country. He was suspended and didn't play a whole season. I want to see us at full strength. I want to see what we can do next year. Hudson Mason, this is his one and done year. He did play in a bowl last year. It was a loss. This is a little bit of a redemption game for him. He needs to come out and play well. We went to the same high school, Lassiter High School, went to the same college, Georgia. I want to see the guy do well. I think he wants to win. He's actually going to set the completion percentage record at the University of Georgia. Pretty awesome considering Zaire was there, Murray was there, Fran Tarkenton was there. It's pretty impressive. David Green, who was the all-time winningest quarterback, David Green was. Murray has all the yardage records in the SEC, every major record in the SEC. Terrence Edwards up there in receiving. He's finally been passed. Herschel in running. We have these great guys, but no All-Americans this year at Georgia. No one invited to the Eisman show. You know, no one in that top tier except Gurley, and he got hurt. We did have the National Freshman of the Year, Nick Chubb. Came in and really did a great job in replacement of Todd Gurley. I think the emotional wear and tear, though, for the Georgia Bulldogs of Todd Gurley getting suspended, coming back, getting hurt, it added up. It adds up on a young guy. It's not like Bobby P. You can just wreck your motorcycle, some blonde floozy goes flying off. Next thing you know, you're a head coach somewhere else. It's not that easy for a young guy. Right, Bobby? Grantham, you're a bad man. I never liked you, Todd Grantham. I'm glad you're out of Georgia, and I hope we run it up on you. All right, that's enough analysis of the Belk Bowl. Let's talk a few more bowls. That's my Georgia 2 cents. I'm also going to be doing a bowl article for Bulldog Illustrated. It's a print and online UGA publication, just covering all the SEC bowls, if you want to do a little reading. If you want to read some more Georgia stuff, I'll do something on Big Harry Blog. That's my Georgia blog, Big Harry Blog, BLAWG, BigHairyBlog.com. Want to keep up with some of the other crap I'm doing? HanVance.com, HANVANC. I write for other magazines, newspapers, curate art shows, do all kinds of crazy stuff. All right, let's get into these bowls. Let's speed round these bad bowls, and we're going to do it in 2 segments because we're going to go to a break. Louisiana Lafayette Raging Cajuns over Nevada. Utah State over UTEP. Utah over Colorado State. Air Force over Western Michigan. This is like Leonard's Losers, but I'm telling you the winner instead of the loser. Remember Leonard's Losers? South Alabama in their 5th year as a program, 6-6, taking out Bowling Green. BYU over Memphis. Both of these teams are candidates to join the Big 12, by the way. I'd like to see Houston in there because of that big market, but BYU and Memphis, I'm taking BYU. Marshall almost made that group of 5 entry. Marshall lost a game. I'm taking 12-1 Marshall over Northern Illinois in Boca Raton, Florida. San Diego was awesome at home. They pretty much get a home game. They're playing Navy midshipmen. The Middies coming off a big win over Army in that final game of the year. I'm going to go with Navy 7-5. Western Kentucky gets to play Central Michigan in the Bahamas. Sign me up. I want to play in the Bahamas. Take Western Kentucky. I'll take Uncle Griff's school, Rice, over Fresno State. Louisiana Tech over Illinois. North Carolina over Rutgers. UCF over NC State. Cincy over Va-Tech. Wait a minute, I already picked that one. We'll be right back.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
I want to be a warm place on a cold
I want to
day.
be a football
I want to be a
stadium.
bike that races around the country.
I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Hey, what's up? Thinking about you. XOXOXO. Want to snuggle. ... JK. Hit me back. You getting these texts? ? We should hang later. I miss you. Holla at ya, boy. Holla back. Holla back. Holla back. Are you at home? Where are you? What are you doing? OMG. You are making me mad. Are you with your ex? You better text me back. I'm waiting outside your house.
Relentless, aggressive texting is like sending an angry robot to deliver your message. When does the robot become dangerous? Let us know at that'snotcool.com.
That'snotcool.com.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
In 50 feet, turn left. Why are you driving so slowly?
After a few drinks, I'm taking it slow.
Well, you're not fooling the cop behind you.
What?
Get ready to pay in 0.1 miles.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't seen your lap in months. And even more stuff. But still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Bop, bop, bop. Happy New Year, everybody! Happy New Year! Welcome back to the Bowl Show. Han Vance with you, Southern Sports Roundup. We're going to talk all sports on Southern Sports Roundup as far as all sports in the South. But today we're just talking my passion, which is college football, because there's so many bowl games. And I just speed rounded through some of the garbage games, going back to December 20th. Gave a little shout out to Leonard's Losers. Leonard was a countryman who had a little thing that would come on Fridays back before the social media proliferation and tickers and all the gambling sites. And he wouldn't tell you who was going to win. He would say, Leonard's Loser, Tennessee. He would tell you who was going to lose. It's kind of cool. He did a little newsletter and did a little show on Fridays. He wasn't a very accurate predictor, which is one thing I enjoyed about it. I am, however. I'm a pretty accurate predictor. So, next year's champions. The Dallas Cowboys are a team I followed my whole life. I had Cowboys crap in my crib and was just from a family that had followed the Cowboys since their inception. College football is ancient. It's not this Johnny-come-lately NFL business. You know, the 60s was around the time the Cowboys came out, 65-ish. I was born in 70. My grandma was a big Cowboys fan. My dad, we loved the Cowboys. It's really cool to see the national championship played in the home of the Dallas Cowboys. And I just wish Georgia could be there. But we've become what Dallas was labeled as in the late 60s, next year's champion. Every preseason we look good, and we don't get there. This year, all the optimists come out and say, well, you know, the new recruits are going to come in, top 3 recruiting class. Hey, we got so-and-so coming back. And a lot of our alumni are just sick of being good. It's not a healthy thing to be sick of being good. I know you want to be great, but you got to be happy to be good. We've been in 18 straight bowls. That is something to be happy about. I want to be great too, y'all. I want to be great, baby. Auburn wanted to be great last year. They weren't. They thought they were great. They patted themselves on the back, and then they went and choked it in the national championship after a couple fluke plays propelled them there. They're in the Outback Bowl in Tampa. I went to see Georgia beat the Wisconsin Badgers 33-6 in this bowl. Memorable trip. Muschamp, my classmate from UGA, kudos to Muschamp for getting fired from Florida. He is scooping $1.6 million to coach the defense from the Gators. To leave the Gators and coach the defense at Auburn. $1.6 million is a nice replacement gig when you don't have to be the head coach anymore. Barry Alvarez at Wisconsin is the interim coach because their coach bolted. It's just an interesting matchup. You got Auburn and Wisconsin. Muschamp's, coming in later. He's not really ready to rock. He doesn't know what's going on at Auburn. Alvarez was the former great Wisconsin coach, and as the AD, he's going to be kind of the interim coach. He's part of the playoff committee, by the way. This team lost by roughly 60 in the Big Ten Championship, Wisconsin. I'm picking Auburn there. This is that New Year's morning where you're flipping around. All the games are on. Tennessee is so excited to be in a bowl. They're in a bowl on January 2nd, and they're just ecstatic. They're just ecstatic to be there. They have Iowa's a matchup, and Iowa's been a relatively solid Big Ten program over the past 10 years. Tennessee has fallen on hard times. This program was so proud. But they've only allowed 24 points a game. They really need this 15 extra bowl practices, and they need the win. I'm picking Tennessee to take out Iowa. Another later in the year bowl, East Carolina and Florida. Muschamp's gone, but Florida does have Dante Fowler, that great defensive lineman, and Vernon Hargroves III, that great corner. Problem is they're matched up with East Carolina. East Carolina is, for you geography majors, not a state. These teams that are not a state, they get into bowls, are happy to be there. Florida would rather be in a better bowl than the Birmingham Bowl. I'm pretty sure we know where that one's played. The Birmingham Bowl is not an exciting destination for a team who had aspirations and got their coach fired. Justin Hardy, the all-time wide receiver in college football, a former walk-on at Eastern Carolina, and a really good quarterback. I'm taking the Pirates. I'm going against SEC again. I want to see Gators end up sub 500. Want to back up and talk a little bit about my Uncle Griff. I didn't give him enough shine when I was doing my speed round. The Hawaii Bowl with Rice and Fresno. My Uncle Griff's is the all-time running back at Rice University. That's why I picked Rice. I don't know if they can compete with Fresno. They're basically even teams, but we're coming up on the 100-year anniversary of the scoring mark, where my Uncle Griff put it up big right before the war broke out. He's one of the Rice's all-time greatest athletes. He went to school there for 6 months, set their scoring record for single game and season, played baseball, ran hurdles, then went off to the military. It's pretty, war started, he had to go. Call of Duty type stuff. Pretty amazing. I met him as a blind man living in an old folks home in Houston, Texas. Made all his money in the auto industry. Just a really cool old guy. Uncle Griff. My son's middle name is Griff, by the way. All right, we missed a few little bowls in here, didn't we? We missed Toledo, Arkansas State on January 4th. Arkansas State's a pretty strong program. They're playing in Mobile in the GoDaddy Bowl. I'm going to go ahead and take Arky State. Washington, UW gets Okie State on January 2nd in the Cactus Bowl. That's a thriller. Comes on at 10 p.m. at night. I'll take UW just because Okie State had a bad year this year. Also January 2nd, these are the after effect games. You got the Alamo Bowl, which is usually a decent bowl and does have some ranked teams. Number 11, K-State, getting number 14, UCLA. I'll take the Bruins there. Those are two of my favorite uniforms in all of college football. Fort Worth Bowl, we got Armed Forces Bowl in Fort Worth, my former hometown. I'll take the Houston Cougs over Pitt. Both teams are playing without their head coach. Take Houston Cougs over Pitt. I think we've hit on pretty much all of them now, except for Baylor. Michigan State is one of those New Year's Six. That's a Cotton Bowl. Played also at Jerry World in Dallas. Baylor has the top offense in the country and has won the Big 12 in back-to-back years, but I have to think that they're heartbroken. I mean, just heartbroken to not get in, more so than TCU somehow. TCU was new to the Big 12 and is, even though TCU was number 3 the week prior and just didn't get the vote, TCU has been in smaller conferences. And Gary Patterson has the type of demeanor to sell the kids on, let's really go out and do this and just show who we are and let's build. Let's go. And Boykin's a junior. Trevon Boykin, the quarterback, is coming back next year. So they can continue to have success. Baylor has surprised everyone. They have a beautiful campus right on the river there and on I-35 in the middle of nowhere, middle of Texas. But it's a beautiful private school, great explosive offense. They've been top for some years. But I don't like the way Briles' tenor is, Art Briles. He's really disappointed. He's really teed off that they're having to play Michigan State and not making the playoff. And I understand he's upset, but that's not the way you sell kids on let's go out and win this game. Michigan State won the Rose Bowl last year. I'm going to go ahead and pick Michigan State. I was going to go to the University of Missouri, and I still am, but I made a deal with myself that I was going to go in the spring if Mizzou would lose a game and let Georgia win the SEC East. That's how into football I am. It hurt my feelings so bad that Missouri won the SEC East after we beat them 34-0 that I actually opted to sit out a semester. I'm going to go. I'm doing my online classes there, getting my master's in media management. I'm not going to do it until fall. I just had too much of a bad taste in my mouth, Mizzou. I knew you had no chance against Bama. We did. Could you please lose a game when I want you to? But I do think they're going to take out the Golden Gophers, Minnesota, in beautiful Orlando, where I lived in 1995, Citrus Bowl. It's not called the Capital One Bowl anymore, by the way. Capital One is now sponsoring the Orange Bowl. It's called the Citrus Bowl. I hate when it's a corporate sponsorship. I don't mind the corporate sponsor, but that can't be the name. I mean, the Peach Bowl makes sense. The Chick-fil-A Bowl? Come on. They made it be called the Peach to let them get in that New Year's Six. They agreed with me. It's just crazy that you're going to call something your company name. The Tax Slayer Bowl? Give me a break. So it's the Citrus Bowl again. I'm taking Mizzou. Jerry Kill, by the way, is a great coach. Done a great job at Minnesota. Really a player's coach. He's had all these health issues, battles back, dances around in the locker room, coming off of, stroke in back-to-back weeks. He's pretty something. Hope you don't die, Kill. Hang in there, buddy, but I hope you lose to Mizzou. Mizzou, I'll see you next year. I was there this summer. I'll be back. I'll be enrolled. I'm going to get my media management on, but when I tell you to lose, lose. That's it, baby. We picked them all. I think we picked them all. We're looking at the SEC having a strong year, but I didn't pick the SEC to win every game like I did last time. I also went on these 6-6 teams. Historically, 6-6 teams do well in bowls. You think, 6-6, why did they make a bowl? They don't deserve a bowl. But, they're there, and they want to show that they deserve to be there. And they're often playing a team who had higher aspirations than the bowl they ended up with and didn't get there. It's going to be a great bowl season. There's 39 games to watch, 2 of which are college football play-in games, playoff, leading up to January 12th championship. You got lots of games on December 20th, 1 on the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 3 on the 26th, bunch of games on the 27th, and then it's wall-to-wall where you got the 28th off, and every other day you got bowls to watch up through the new year. I hate to pick Bama, but I'm going to pick Bama to win the national championship because they're favored, and I think they're going to take out Ohio State. Florida State has a really good shot against Bama if they get there. I don't like Oregon against Bama at all. Florida State has a shot, but I can't pick them to do upset, and win 31 in a row. I'm going to pick Bama to go ahead and represent for the SEC, win the national championship, and let me go out on a limb and pick next year's national champion right now. That's right, next year's champions, the University of Georgia Bulldogs. Go Dogs. Go ATL. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Keep listening to Southern Sports Roundup. I'm going to do another Paul Harvey for you. Good day.